5. Most frightening alien abduction cases. The beliefs that aliens from outer space are already here, making their first contact with humans, is kind of persuasive, and often not without tales of personal experiences. To some extent, these so-called encounters with the third kind would result in abductions. We count 5 of the most frightening alien abduction cases that would make even the hardest of skeptics believe that aliens exist. Number 5. The Allagash alien abduction case. This bizarre account goes way back to 1976, telling a story about 4 friends who went on a camping trip to Maine. In one of those nights, they decided to go night fishing on the lake. While they were in their canoe, they noticed a beam of light coming from an unknown object hovering above the sky. Intrigued, one of the campers used a flashlight to make an SOS signal, which he beamed towards the source of the strange light. As if on cue, the object lowered down from the sky and went towards their direction. Soon enough, the 4 men were enveloped with the light that became so bright they were blinded by it. Several hours later, the men woke up at their campsite with no recollection of what happened in the lake. Shortly after the incident, the 4 individuals began having nightmares. Psychological interventions had them put under hypnosis. It revealed their encounter with the extraterrestrial beings who abducted them. The 4 friends later took lie detector tests, which they all passed. Number 4. The alien abduction in Arizona. Almost every alien abduction story out there usually lacks the most important element that could prove the veracity of its claim: a witness. Well, not all of these stories apparently, and this one right here has 2 eyewitnesses. A news report from Arizona, dated November 1975, quoted statements from 2 lumberjacks who saw their workmate, Travis Walton, being lifted through the air by a beam of bright light, which came from a craft hovering above the tall trees. The police listed Mr. Walton as a missing person. The 2, meanwhile, became persons of interest to the case. Strangely enough, Walton appeared 5 days after his disappearance. His claims coincided with what the 2 workmates had said. According to him, he was taken by these creatures who wore orange gowns. He further described them having skin that felt smooth and chalky. Their heads were disproportionate to their whole bodily structure, and their eyes were so huge. Upon his escape from captivity, he met other human beings who didn't speak to him. They had him gassed, and the next thing he knew, he was out somewhere in Arizona. Number 3. The abduction of Jessie Long. Jessie Long was only 5 years old when his encounter with the unknown began. As a kid, he used to explore the backwoods with his brother. One time, they stumbled upon a round structure in a clearing. A tall, human-like figure appeared and paralyzed Long and his companion. Long remembered being carried into the craft and propped on a table. More tall figures appeared and surrounded him while he was half unconscious. They all prodded at his body as if trying to examine it. The man later claimed to have been abducted repeatedly. In one of those experiments, the aliens purportedly extracted his sperm, which they used to crossbreed with female ETs. Long went on to say that he fathered at least 9 hybrid kids, which he never saw again. Number 2. The Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction. The Hill couple case was one of the famous and well-publicized cases of alien abduction in the 1960s. As what the Hills recalled, they were driving back home from a holiday in Niagara Falls when their trip was interrupted by a huge craft that kept on hovering above their car. Upon inspection, Mr. Hill said he saw 11 humanoid figures wearing weird dark-colored capes. They drove off in haste, but soon enough they experienced a buzzing sensation along the way. They arrived at their destination 7 hours later. The trip was supposed to be a 4-hour journey. They found themselves in quite a messy state with their clothes being torn apart. The couple then began having nightmares of being experimented on by the humanoids. They underwent hypnotherapy sessions and from there revealed quite a handful of intriguing details about their abduction. Their story was made into a book titled The Interrupted Journey by John G. Fuller. And number 1, the Gandia McKay alien abduction incident. This chilling story of alien abduction from Australia really blew everyone's minds, considering the strangeness of the events that occurred. According to accounts, a 22-year-old Amy Rylance and her husband Keith were at home in Gandia, Australia, in October 2001. The couple was joined by their friend Petra. Amy and Keith had already gone to bed while Petra was reading in the guest room. Petra was disrupted with what she was doing when a blinding light flooded the lounge room, followed by a sound of shattering glass. Upon her inspection, she was horrified to see Amy, still asleep, being carried by the light, straight out through the window and onto a huge ship outside. Keith woke up to look for Amy. They found the entire place disheveled and the plants outside were burnt. They eventually called the police, who couldn't make sense of their report. More than an hour later, they received a phone call from someone in Mackay, Queensland, which is an 8-hour drive from Gandia. They learned from the caller that Amy was found dazed and severely disoriented. Although far from being critically injured, Amy's body was later found with red marks on her thighs and heels, as if she had been dragged. No one could explain how she ended up that far in such a short amount of time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.